The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive structure that had witnessed 10,000 years of galactic history. Inside, representatives from 47 different species gathered in a circular arrangement, each sitting in their designated section. The air hummed with translation devices, converting thousands of languages into understanding. Ambassador Krelvoth stood in the center speaking platform. His species, the Zephyrians, were among the oldest in the known galaxy. His skin was pale blue and covered with ancient markings that told the story of his long life. He was over 300 years old, and his eyes held the weight of memories that most species could not comprehend. "I stand before this council with an urgent warning," Krelvoth said. His voice carried across the chamber through the translation system. "We have discovered a new species expanding into the outer sectors. They call themselves humans." Several council members shifted in their seats. New species were discovered every few decades. It was nothing unusual. "What makes these creatures special?" asked Commander Thexrel of the Draknor Empire. He was a massive being, nearly 3 meters tall, with dark scales and yellow eyes that gleamed with confidence. The Draknor were warriors, proud of their strength and their vast military forces. "Are they powerful? Do they possess advanced weapons?" Krelvoth shook his head slowly. "They have only recently developed faster-than-light travel. Their weapons are primitive compared to ours. Their ships are slow and clumsy. By all measurements, they appear weak. Then why do you waste our time?" Thexrel laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Several other council members joined in the laughter. "Because I have seen this before," Krelvoth said quietly. The laughter died down. "In our ancient archives there are records, fragments of history from before my species joined this confederation. We encountered humans once long ago when they were even more primitive than they are now." "And what happened?" asked Council Prime Velshara, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline form. Krelvoth activated a holographic display. Ancient symbols appeared in the air, texts so old that even the translation devices struggled to interpret them. "The records are incomplete. Much has been lost to time. But the warning is clear. My ancestors wrote this in every format they could devise. They carved it into stone. They encoded it into our genetic memory. They made sure we would never forget." The hologram shifted, showing a single phrase in dozens of ancient languages. "Do not provoke them. They do not stop. They do not forget, that is all." Thexrel stood up, his massive form towering above his seat. "Ancient superstition from a primitive time. Your ancestors were afraid of creatures they did not understand. We are the Galactic Confederation. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We maintain peace through strength." "It is not superstition," Krelvoth insisted. His voice grew stronger, more urgent. "The records speak of a minor conflict, a small trade dispute. A single Zephyrian merchant killed a human by accident. Our people tried to compensate, tried to make peace. But the humans would not accept any settlement. They pursued justice for that one individual across decades. They learned our language, infiltrated our society, and tracked down everyone involved. Not just the merchant who caused the death, but everyone who tried to hide the truth. The pursuit lasted 70 years. 70 years for one death?" Council Prime Velshara's energy form flickered with what might have been disbelief. "That seems excessive." "That is their nature," Krelvoth said. "They bond with each other in ways we do not fully understand. When you harm one of them, you create an enemy that will never stop coming. Time does not diminish their anger. Distance does not discourage them. They will chase you to the end of the galaxy if necessary." Thexrel laughed again. "Let me understand this correctly. You want us to fear a species that has just learned to travel between stars? A species with inferior technology? Because your ancient ancestors had one bad experience with them thousands of years ago? I want you to leave them alone," Krelvoth said simply. "We do not need to conquer them. We do not need to subjugate them. Let them develop in peace. Eventually they may become allies. But if you attack them, if you harm them, you will create something terrible. The Confederation does not run from weak species," Thexrel declared. "These humans are expanding into sectors that border our territory. They must learn their place in the galactic order. They must understand that we are superior." "Then you doom us all," Krelvoth whispered. The Council Prime called for a vote. Should they send a fleet to establish dominance over human space? Should they show these newcomers the power of the Confederation? 43 council members voted yes. Only 3 voted no. The Zephyrians, as always, stood alone in their caution. "It is decided. Council Prime Velshara announced, Commander Thexral, you will take a demonstration fleet to human space. You will contact their leaders and demand their submission to Confederation authority. Use whatever force is necessary to make them understand their position. Thexral bowed his massive head. It will be my honor. I will teach these humans humility. As the council session ended and the various ambassadors began to leave, Krelvoth remained standing in the center platform. He watched Thexral depart, surrounded by his military advisors, all of them laughing and celebrating their coming victory. An old friend approached Krelvoth, Ambassador Mirasol of the 10th Aran Collective, a species known for their wisdom and long memory. You truly believe the danger is real? She asked quietly. I know it is real, Krelvoth replied. My people scattered across the stars because of them. We were once a unified civilization, strong and proud. After the conflict with humans, we fled in different directions. Some went so far that they evolved into different subspecies, all because we could not escape their pursuit. All because we made the mistake of killing one of them and thinking we could avoid consequences. But that was thousands of years ago, Mirasol said. Perhaps they have changed? Perhaps, Krelvoth agreed. Or perhaps they have only become more efficient at what they do naturally. He looked at the holographic display still floating above the platform. The ancient warning glowed in the dim light. They do not stop. They do not forget. What will you do now? Mirasol asked. I will return to my homeworld, Krelvoth said. I will gather my people and prepare them. When the humans come, and they will come, I want my species to be ready to negotiate peace. We will offer them whatever knowledge we have. We will help them in whatever way they need. Perhaps that will be enough to avoid what happened to our ancestors. You think Thexral will fail? I think Thexral will succeed in his mission, Krelvoth said sadly. He will demonstrate the Confederation's power. He will make the humans submit through force. And in doing so, he will awaken something that should have remained sleeping. The humans will bow their heads and accept defeat, but they will remember every detail of what was done to them. And then when they are ready, they will come. Not with mercy, not with forgiveness, but with a patience and determination that will terrify the galaxy. He deactivated the holographic display and walked slowly toward the exit. At the doorway, he paused and looked back at the empty council chamber. I have warned them, he said to no one in particular. May whatever gods they believe in forgive what they have begun. The doors closed behind him and the chamber fell silent. In the darkness of space outside, the Draknor fleet was already assembling, preparing for their journey to human space. They had no idea what they were about to unleash. The sky above New Horizon was brilliant blue, almost identical to Earth's sky. That was why the colonists had chosen this world. It reminded them of home. Sarah Chen stood on her office balcony, looking out over the settlement. 50,000 people lived here now, building farms and homes, raising children, creating a future among the stars. She was the colonial governor, elected by the people who trusted her to keep them safe. It was a responsibility she took seriously. New Horizon had no military presence. They were farmers, teachers, engineers, and families. They had left Earth to build something peaceful. Her son Marcus was down in the valley working with the agricultural team. He was 17 years old, full of dreams about expanding the colony's food production. Sarah smiled thinking about him. He had his father's determination and her practical mind. He would do well in this new world. The warning came suddenly. Alarms blared across the settlement. Sarah ran to her office console and saw the sensor readings. Ships were approaching. Big ships. Not human designs. She opened the communication channel. This is Governor Sarah Chen of New Horizon Colony. We welcome peaceful visitors. Please identify yourselves. The response came in perfect English, translated by alien technology. This is Commander Thexral of the Draknor Empire, representing the Galactic Confederation. You will prepare for immediate boarding and inspection. Your species is now subject to Confederation authority. Sarah felt a chill run through her body. She had heard rumors of alien civilizations, but Earth had not made official contact yet. Commander, we are a peaceful colony. We wish to establish diplomatic relations. Perhaps we can arrange a meeting with Earth's government to discuss proper protocols. There is nothing to discuss, Thexral replied. His voice was cold and harsh. You are primitive creatures who have wandered into civilized space. You will submit to our authority or you will be taught the consequences of defiance. Sarah looked at the sensor readings again. There were 12 ships in orbit. Each one was larger than anything humanity had built. She felt fear, but also anger. These aliens had come to her world, threatened her people without any provocation. "We will not submit to threats," she said carefully, "but we are willing to negotiate. Please let us establish peaceful communication." There was silence for a moment. Then Thexrel spoke again, and Sarah heard something in his voice that terrified her. Amusement. "Your diplomacy is weakness," he said. "You negotiate because you are afraid. We do not fear you. Let me teach you why fear is appropriate." The first beam of energy struck the northern settlement. Sarah watched in horror as buildings exploded. The communication channel filled with screams. Hundreds of people lived in that sector, families, children. "Stop," Sarah screamed into the console. "We surrender. Please stop." But the bombardment continued. The aliens were methodical, destroying one settlement after another. They were not trying to kill everyone. They were making a point, showing their power. Sarah frantically tried to coordinate evacuations, but it was chaos. People were running in panic. The alien weapons were too powerful, too precise. Marcus was in the valley. Sarah tried to call him, but the communication network was failing. She could only watch as another energy beam struck near the agricultural complex. The attack lasted 20 minutes. When it stopped, 12,000 people were dead. The aliens had destroyed a quarter of the colony's infrastructure. They left the main settlements intact, ensuring survivors would remain to spread the message. "Do you understand now?" Thexrel's voice came through the damaged console. "This is what happens when primitives forget their place. Tell your leaders what you have seen. Tell them the Confederation demands their submission. If they refuse, we will return and finish what we started." The alien ships departed, leaving New Horizon burning. Sarah sat in her ruined office, surrounded by broken glass and twisted metal. Her hands were shaking. She had failed to protect her people. Hours passed before she could move. Emergency teams were searching through rubble, finding bodies, trying to help the wounded. Sarah forced herself to stand. She needed to lead. Her people needed her. She found Marcus in the medical center. He was alive, but barely. A piece of debris had struck him when the agricultural complex was hit. The doctors said he would survive, but his legs were badly damaged. Sarah held her son's hand as he drifted in and out of consciousness. Around them, the medical center was overwhelmed with casualties. Doctors and nurses worked frantically, but there were too many wounded, too few supplies. "Mom?" Marcus whispered. His eyes opened slightly. "I am here," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice steady. "You are going to be okay." "What happened?" "Why did they attack us?" "I do not know," Sarah replied. "But they will answer for this. I promise you." Marcus closed his eyes again. Sarah sat with him through the night, listening to the sounds of grief and pain that filled the colony. Every few minutes, someone would cry out in anguish, discovering that a loved one had died. The sound would echo through the halls, a reminder of what had been taken from them. The next morning, Sarah recorded a message to Earth. Her face was pale and exhausted, but her voice was clear and strong. Behind her, the ruins of New Horizon were visible through the broken windows. "This is Governor Sarah Chen of New Horizon Colony. At approximately 1400 hours yesterday, we were attacked without provocation by alien vessels identifying themselves as representatives of the Galactic Confederation. They demanded our submission. When I attempted diplomatic negotiations, they opened fire on civilian settlements. 12,000 citizens are dead. Thousands more are wounded. The aliens have left, but they promise to return if Earth does not surrender to their authority." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "I am transmitting all sensor data, communication logs, and recordings of the attack. We need help. We need protection. But more than that, we need justice. These aliens killed children. They murdered families. They destroyed homes. They must answer for what they have done." The message was transmitted across space toward Earth. It would take weeks to arrive, even with faster-than-light communication relays. Sarah did not know if help would come in time. She did not know if Earth had any way to fight these powerful aliens, but she knew one thing with certainty. Humanity would remember this day. They would remember every face of the dead. They would remember the alien commander's voice as he laughed at their suffering. They would remember, and memory would become something dangerous. Marcus recovered slowly over the following weeks. He could walk again, though with difficulty, but something had changed in him. Sarah saw it in his eyes. The boy who loved agriculture and dreamed of peaceful expansion was gone. In his place was someone harder, colder, focused entirely on a single purpose. "When I am strong enough," Marcus told his mother one night, "I am joining the military. I am going to hunt down everyone responsible for this. Every single one." Sarah should have told him to let go of his anger. She should have encouraged forgiveness and healing. But she could not, because she felt the same way. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had shown humanity what they were capable of. They had demonstrated their power and their cruelty. Now humanity would show them something far more terrifying. They would show them what it meant to create an enemy that would never, ever stop coming. 5 years had passed since the attack on New Horizon. The galaxy had almost forgotten about the incident. Commander Thexral had submitted his report to the Galactic Confederation, declaring the mission a complete success. The humans had been taught their place. There had been no response from Earth, no retaliation, nothing. The Confederation assumed the primitive species had accepted reality and submitted to superior power. They were wrong. The first strike came without warning. Draknor military outpost Sigma 7 simply stopped communicating. When a patrol ship arrived to investigate, they found nothing but wreckage. The station had been destroyed with precision and overwhelming force. Every ship docked there was gone. Every Draknor soldier stationed there was dead. Before the patrol ship could report, it too came under attack. Human vessels appeared from nowhere, their design completely transformed from the clumsy ships the Confederation had observed 5 years ago. These were sleek, fast, and deadly. The patrol ship managed to send a brief distress signal before it was obliterated. Over the next 72 hours, 11 more Draknor outposts were destroyed. The attacks were simultaneous, coordinated across light years of space. The Confederation was shocked. How had humanity developed such technology so quickly? How had they built such a fleet without anyone noticing? The answer was simple. Humanity had transformed itself into a weapon. Every resource, every mind, every effort had been directed toward a single goal: revenge. Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the UNS Relentless, watching through the view screen as another Draknor station burned. He was 22 years old now, a commander in Earth's newly formed Special Operations Division. The injury to his legs had healed, leaving only faint scars. But the scars on his mind ran much deeper. "All targets confirmed destroyed," reported Lieutenant Morrison from the tactical station. "No survivors. Scan for escape pods," Marcus ordered. His voice was calm and cold. "I want a record of every DNA signature. Cross-reference with the New Horizon database." The tactical officer worked quickly. 3 escape pods detected. All personnel accounted for. None of them matched the New Horizon perpetrator list. "Let them go," Marcus said. "Make sure they have full sensor recordings of what happened here. I want them to report back what they saw." The escape pods were released. Marcus watched them drift away from the destroyed station. Those Draknor soldiers would carry a message back to their empire. They would tell their leaders what they had witnessed. Human ships appearing like ghosts, human weapons that made Confederation technology look primitive, human soldiers who fought with precision and absolute determination. But most importantly, they would report that the humans were looking for specific individuals. The humans had a list, a very detailed list. On Earth, the United Nations had established a new division called the Justice Office. Their purpose was singular: track down every individual involved in the New Horizon massacre. Using the sensor data, communication logs, and visual records from that day, humanity's best minds had identified everyone aboard those 12 Draknor ships. 3,247 individuals. Every crew member. Every officer. Every soldier. The humans had their names, their genetic profiles, their service records. The Confederation had unknowingly provided much of this information themselves, as their military kept meticulous records. Now the hunt had begun. Commander Thexral sat in his private quarters on the Draknor homeworld when he received the news. 12 outposts destroyed, hundreds of soldiers dead, and the humans were demanding something impossible. A human ambassador had appeared at the Confederation Council, escorted by a fleet of warships that made it clear they were not asking permission. The ambassador was an older woman with gray hair and hard eyes. She carried a data pad containing a single document. "The list," she said simply, placing it on the council table. These are the individuals responsible for the massacre at New Horizon Colony. You will surrender them to human custody within 30 days. All of them. Council Prime Velshara's energy form flickered with agitation. This is outrageous. You attack our outposts, kill our soldiers, and make demands. You are starting a war you cannot win. The human ambassador smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We are not starting a war. You started the war 5 years ago when you murdered 12,000 civilians. We are finishing it. The only question is how many more of your people die before you give us what we want. You cannot track down 3,000 individuals across the galaxy, Thexral said, standing to address the ambassador. Many of them have been reassigned. Some have retired. Some have hidden themselves. Your threat is empty. The ambassador looked at him directly. Commander Thexral, Service Number 7 Alpha 293, born on Draknor Prime, city of Kreshtar. You have 3 children and a mate named Velkara. You enjoy hunting on the preserve near your home. Your favorite food is kreth steak, prepared rare. Should I continue? Thexral felt his blood run cold. How did they know these details? We know everything about all of you, the ambassador continued. We have infiltrated your society. We have studied your culture. We have learned your languages, your customs, your habits. Over the past 5 years, while you thought we were cowering in fear, we were preparing. Now the preparation is over. Now comes justice. Ambassador Krelvoth, still serving on the council despite his advanced age, spoke quietly. I warned you. I told you they would never stop. Silence, old fool, Thexral snapped. But his confidence was shaken. The humans had changed everything in 5 years. How had they done it? The answer was that humanity had learned from the aliens themselves. They had captured Confederation technology during the initial attacks. They had reverse-engineered it, improved it, and built upon it. Human scientists worked around the clock, driven by the memory of New Horizon. Human engineers created weapons that combined alien technology with human innovation. The result was devastating, but technology was only part of it. The real weapon was human nature itself, the ability to focus on a goal with absolute dedication, the refusal to forget or forgive, the patience to wait years, decades, or even centuries for justice. The Confederation Council debated for hours after the human ambassador left. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to negotiate. In the end, pragmatism won. They would surrender the individuals on the list. It was better to sacrifice 3,000 than to fight a war against an enemy that would never stop. But they underestimated how difficult it would be to find everyone. Many Draknor soldiers had heard rumors about the human list and gone into hiding. They fled to remote worlds, changed their identities, tried to disappear into the vast galaxy. It did not matter. The humans kept coming. Marcus Chen led a team to a small trading station in the Outer Rim. Intelligence suggested that a former Draknor gunner named Kreshval was hiding there, working as a merchant under a false name. The human team arrived quietly, blending in with other travelers. They had learned to be patient. Marcus found Kreshval in a crowded market. The Draknor looked older now, his scales faded, trying to live a peaceful life. Marcus approached him slowly. Kreshval, Marcus said in the Draknor language, or should I call you by your false name? The alien turned, his eyes widening in recognition, not of Marcus specifically, but of what he represented. A human, a hunter. I had no choice, Kreshval said quickly. I was following orders. I did not want to fire on your colony. But you did fire, Marcus replied. Your targeting computer logs show you destroyed 14 buildings. 73 people died from your shots, including my mother, Governor Sarah Chen. Kreshval started to run. He pushed through the crowd, desperate to escape. But there was nowhere to go. Marcus's team had surrounded the area. Within minutes, Kreshval was in custody. You are the 8th person I have personally captured, Marcus told him as they transported him to the human ship. I will find all of them eventually. Every single one. No matter how long it takes, this scene repeated across the galaxy. Human teams, methodical and patient, tracking down their targets one by one. Some surrendered peacefully, others fought and died. But the list kept getting shorter. After 1 year, the Confederation had surrendered 2,800 individuals. They were tried by human courts, given fair hearings, and sentenced according to their level of involvement. The trials were broadcast across the galaxy, showing everyone that humanity sought justice, not mindless revenge. But 237 names remained on the list. These were the ones who had hidden themselves too well, or who had fled too far. The Confederation declared they could not find them. The human response was simple. Then we will find them ourselves. We will wait as long as necessary. And the galaxy realized with growing horror that the humans meant it literally. They would search for decades if needed. They would never stop. The hunt would continue until every name was crossed off the list, no matter how long it took. 20 years had passed since the attack on New Horizon. An entire generation of humans had grown up knowing only the pursuit. Children learned in school about the massacre and the importance of justice. The hunt was no longer just about revenge. It had become part of human identity, a demonstration to the galaxy of what happened when you harmed innocent people. Marcus Chen was now 42 years old. His hair showed streaks of gray, and his face carried the lines of someone who had seen too much. But his eyes remained sharp and focused. He was now the director of the Justice Office, coordinating human hunter teams across the galaxy. Of the original 3,247 names, only 37 remained. Commander Thexral was among them. He was the highest value target, the one who gave the order to fire on New Horizon. For 2 decades he had been running, hiding, changing his identity. He had undergone genetic modifications to alter his appearance. He had learned to speak 12 different languages. He moved constantly, never staying in one place for more than a few months. But he was tired. Running for 20 years wore down even the strongest individual. Thexral sat in a small apartment on a remote station called Haven's End, a place where beings of all species came to disappear. He had taken the name Velthron and worked as a data analyst, a boring job that kept him invisible. He thought he was safe. He was wrong. Human intelligence networks had grown incredibly sophisticated over the years. They had agents in every major civilization, informants in thousands of locations. More importantly, they had developed advanced tracking algorithms that analyzed patterns of behavior. Thexral might have changed his appearance and name, but he could not change his fundamental nature. The way he walked, the way he spoke, his habits and preferences, all created a pattern. The algorithm flagged Velthron as a potential match 18 months ago. Human agents began subtle surveillance. They watched him work. They observed his routines. They collected genetic samples from his discarded items. It took time to be certain, but eventually the confirmation came. Velthron was Commander Thexral. The human team did not rush. They studied him for months, learning his patterns, ensuring he had no escape routes prepared. They wanted this capture to be perfect. Thexral was not just another name on the list. He was the symbol of why the hunt existed. Marcus Chen decided to lead this operation personally. After 20 years, he wanted to face the being responsible for his mother's death. He traveled to Haven's End with a small team, all of them veterans of the long hunt. They waited until Thexral was alone in his apartment. Marcus approached the door with 2 other agents. There was no dramatic forced entry. Marcus simply knocked, calm and patient. Thexral opened the door, expecting a neighbor or delivery. Instead, he saw 3 humans in dark uniforms. His eyes went wide, and for a moment he seemed frozen. Then recognition flashed across his face. Not of Marcus specifically, but of what this meant. After 20 years, they had found him. He tried to slam the door, but Marcus was faster. He pushed inside, his team following. Thexral backed away, his hands raised. "Please," he said in broken English. "I am not who you think. You have wrong person." Marcus pulled out a data pad and held it up, showing Thexral's original military photo next to a recent surveillance image. "We know exactly who you are. We have known for 18 months. We have been watching you, Commander, learning your new life, making sure you had nowhere to run." Thexral collapsed into a chair, the weight of realization crushing him. 20 years. I ran for 20 years. How did you find me? We told you we would never stop, Marcus replied. Did you think we were exaggerating? Did you think we would forget? It was war, Thexral said weakly. I was following orders. The Confederation commanded me to demonstrate power. I did my duty. You murdered children, Marcus said, his voice hard and cold. You destroyed homes. You killed my mother while she tried to negotiate peace. That was not war. That was terrorism. And now you will answer for it. As the team secured Thexral for transport, Marcus looked around the small apartment. It was sparse and simple. No personal items, no photographs. Nothing that would connect Velthron to Commander Thexral. It was the home of someone who had given up everything to hide. Was it worth it? Marcus asked. 20 years of running, of hiding, of living in fear. Was it worth those 20 minutes when you felt powerful? Thexral said nothing. What could he say? He had destroyed his own life, trying to escape the consequences of his actions. And in the end, it had not mattered. The humans had found him anyway. The transport of Thexral back to human space became a major galactic event. News networks across hundreds of worlds covered it. The symbol of human persistence had finally been captured. But more than that, it reminded everyone that 36 names still remained on the list. The hunt would continue. Across the galaxy, various species watched and learned. The younger civilizations, those who had only recently joined the galactic community, paid special attention. Their leaders taught their people a simple lesson: never attack humans. Not because humans were the strongest or most technologically advanced, but because they would never stop pursuing justice. The phrase, human memory, had entered the galactic vocabulary. It meant something that would never be forgotten, a grudge that would never fade. When one species threatened another, the response might be, "Do you want to give them a human memory?" It was a warning. Do not create an enemy that will hunt you forever. On Earth, in the memorial hall built to honor the victims of New Horizon, workers added Thexral's name to the wall of justice. It was placed at the top, marking him as the primary perpetrator. Below his name were 3,210 others, all of them crossed off, found, captured, tried, sentenced. Below those were 36 names still waiting. 36 individuals who remained hidden, still running, still afraid. Marcus stood in the memorial hall looking at the wall. Around him, families of the victims came to remember their loved ones. Some placed flowers, others stood in silence. A few wept quietly, their grief still fresh after 20 years. A young woman approached Marcus. She was in her early 20s, wearing a military uniform. "Director Chen, I am Lieutenant Sarah Morrison. My grandmother was Emily Morrison. She died in the New Horizon attack. I wanted to thank you for finding Commander Thexral." Marcus nodded slowly. "Your grandmother was a teacher, correct? She taught primary school in the northern settlement. You remember?" Sarah seemed surprised. "I remember all of them," Marcus replied. "Every name, every face, every story. That is why we do this, so they are not forgotten." Sarah looked at the wall at the thousands of names. "Will you find all of them?" "The remaining 36. "Yes," Marcus said simply. "It might take another 20 years. It might take 50. But we will find them. All of them. And then what?" Sarah asked. "When the list is complete, when justice is done, what happens to the hunt?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Then we remember. We make sure every human knows this story. We teach our children why we did this. Not because we enjoy hunting, but because we refuse to let evil go unpunished. We show the galaxy that humanity can be peaceful and cooperative, but also that we protect our own. Always." On a distant world, one of the remaining 36 watched the news coverage of Thexral's capture. His name was Krelthor, a former weapons officer who had fired on New Horizon. He had been hiding for 20 years, moving from place to place, always looking over his shoulder. Seeing Thexral in human custody broke something inside him. If they could find the commander after 20 years, they would eventually find him too. Krelthor was tired of running. He was tired of fear. He made a decision. He walked to the local human embassy and requested to speak with someone from the justice office. When the agent arrived, Krelthor said simply, "My name is Krelthor. I am on your list. I surrender." The agent checked the database. "You are number 73 on the original list." "Why surrender now?" "Because I cannot run forever," Krelthor replied. "You will find me eventually. Everyone knows this now. The galaxy understands that humans never give up. I would rather face justice than spend the rest of my life in fear." Over the next year, 12 more individuals surrendered. They saw what happened to Thexral and realized the futility of running. The human justice system was fair. Those who surrendered and cooperated received lighter sentences. Those who fought and caused more deaths received harsher punishment. But everyone was treated according to law, not emotion. The galaxy watched this too. Humanity was not simply seeking revenge. They were establishing a principle. Attack innocent humans and you would face consequences. But surrender and accept responsibility, and you would receive fair treatment. It was a message of both strength and civilization. Marcus Chen continued his work, leading teams across the galaxy, following leads, analyzing data, patiently tracking the remaining names. He was no longer young, but the work gave him purpose. His mother had died trying to protect her people through diplomacy. He would honor her memory by ensuring that her killers, all of them, faced justice. 23 names remained, then 18, then 11. Each capture was celebrated not with joy, but with quiet satisfaction. Another name crossed off. Another step closer to completion. Another promise kept to the dead of New. 50 years after the attack on New Horizon, the Galactic Confederation Council gathered once again. The chamber looked the same as it had half a century ago, but everything had changed. The council now included human representatives, sitting alongside the other species as equals. More than equals, if truth be told. Humanity had earned a respect born of fear and admiration. Ambassador Krelvoth was dying. At 350 years old, he was ancient even for a Zephyrian. His skin had faded to almost white, and he needed assistance to reach the speaking platform. But he had insisted on attending this final session. The formal peace treaty between humanity and the Confederation would be signed today, and he wanted to witness it. Marcus Chen sat in the human delegation section. He was 72 years old now, retired from the justice office but attending as an honored witness. His hair was completely white, his face deeply lined, but his eyes remained sharp. Next to him sat his granddaughter, Ambassador Jennifer Chen, who would sign the treaty on behalf of humanity. The last name had been crossed off the list 3 months ago. After 50 years, every individual involved in the New Horizon massacre had been found. Some had died of natural causes before they could be captured, but even those deaths were recorded and verified. The pursuit was complete. Council Prime Velshara, still serving after 50 years, her energy form now dimmer with age, called the session to order. We gathered today to formalize the peace between humanity and the Galactic Confederation. A peace that has been earned through 5 decades of pursuit and justice. Ambassador Krelvoth has requested to speak before we proceed with the signing. Krelvoth moved slowly to the center platform. When he spoke, his voice was weak but clear. I stood in this chamber 50 years ago and warned you. I told you not to attack the humans. I told you they would never stop coming. You did not listen. Commander Thexrel laughed at my warning. The council voted to demonstrate power over these newcomers, and in doing so you unleashed something the galaxy had not seen in thousands of years. He paused, gathering strength. My people knew. We had encountered humans before, long ago in our history. We wronged them once, a minor incident. A single death caused by accident and arrogance. They pursued us for 70 years. Not an army, but investigators and hunters who learned our language and infiltrated our society. They found everyone involved and brought them to justice. That pursuit shattered my civilization. We scattered across the stars, fleeing in different directions. We became refugees in our own galaxy because we could not escape human persistence. The chamber was silent. Even species that knew this story listened with respect. Krelvoth had lived through humanity's nature twice now. I tried to warn you, Krelvoth continued. I showed you our ancient records. I begged you to leave them alone. But you were proud. You believed your technology and military strength made you superior. You thought humans were primitive and weak. You learned, as my ancestors learned, that humans possess something far more dangerous than advanced weapons. They possess memory. They possess determination. They possess the absolute refusal to let injustice go unanswered. He turned to look at Marcus Chen. I see the human who led the hunt. Marcus Chen, who lost his mother in the attack. Who dedicated his entire life to finding every person responsible. Who never gave up, never forgot, never forgave. You are the embodiment of your species' nature. I honor you even as I fear what you represent. Marcus stood slowly, his old legs stiff. He walked to the center platform, standing beside Krelvoth. Ambassador, your people taught the galaxy a lesson long ago. My people had to teach it again. I hope this is the last time the lesson is needed. Do you believe your pursuit was just? Krelvoth asked. 50 years for justice. Countless resources spent. Your entire civilization focused on this hunt. Was it worth the cost? Marcus looked around the chamber at the assembled species. 12,000 civilians died in 20 minutes. Children, families, people who had done nothing wrong, whose only crime was being human. Yes, the pursuit was worth it. Because now, Every species in this galaxy knows that humans protect their own. If you live in peace with us, we will be your greatest allies. But if you harm innocent humans, we will hunt you until the stars grow cold. Ambassador Jennifer Chen approached the platform. She was young, only 30 years old, representing a generation that had grown up with the hunt as part of their history. The treaty we signed today establishes new principles for the galaxy. Humanity will not seek conquest or domination. We do not want an empire, but we demand respect for all sentient life. Any species that deliberately attacks civilians, human or otherwise, will face what we call proportional persistence. We will pursue justice with the same dedication we showed for New Horizon. Council Prime Velshara flickered, with what might have been acceptance. The Confederation agrees to these terms. We have learned from our mistake. Humanity has taught us that true power lies not in weapons or technology, but in the willingness to never surrender a just cause. The treaty was signed with ceremony and formality. Humanity became a full member of the Galactic Confederation, with all rights and responsibilities that entailed. But everyone understood the real meaning of this moment. Humanity had changed the galaxy's power structure not through conquest, but through demonstration of their fundamental nature. After the ceremony, Marcus walked through the corridors of the council station. He moved slowly, feeling every one of his 72 years. His granddaughter walked beside him, matching his pace. "Are you satisfied, grandfather?" Jennifer asked. "You dedicated your life to this. Now that it is done, do you feel it was worth it?" Marcus stopped at a viewing window. Outside, stars glittered in the darkness, the vast galaxy spreading in all directions. When I was 17, I watched my mother die. I saw my home destroyed. I felt helpless and angry. The pursuit gave me purpose. It gave all of us purpose. We showed the galaxy who we are. But did we go too far? Jennifer pressed. 50 years, grandfather. Some people say we became obsessed, that we should have forgiven and moved forward. Marcus turned to face her. "Let me ask you something. If someone killed your family tomorrow, and the authorities said they could not find the perpetrators, would you accept that? Would you forget and move on?" "No," Jennifer admitted. "I would want justice." "That is the difference between humans and most other species," Marcus said. "We do not accept injustice. We do not forget. We do not forgive those who deliberately harm innocents. Some call it obsession. I call it integrity. We make promises to our dead and we keep those promises. Always." They continued walking until they reached the human embassy section. A group of young students was on a tour, learning about the council and galactic politics. Their teacher, a middle-aged woman named Catherine, recognized Marcus. "Director Chen, children, this is Marcus Chen, the hero of the justice hunt." The children gathered around, their faces full of curiosity. They had grown up learning about New Horizon in school, but it was ancient history to them, something their grandparents experienced. One boy raised his hand. "Mr. Chen, did you really chase bad aliens for 50 years? Marcus smiled slightly. "Not just me. Thousands of people worked on the hunt. Investigators, analysts, soldiers, diplomats. It was not about one person. It was about humanity working together." A girl asked, "Why did it take so long?" "Because justice cannot be rushed," Marcus replied. "We had to find every person responsible. We had to gather evidence. We had to be fair and thorough. If we had rushed, we might have made mistakes, might have harmed innocent beings. The pursuit was long because we insisted on doing it correctly." "Are you glad it is over?" another child asked. Marcus considered the question carefully. "I am glad that justice has been served. I am glad that every person who participated in the massacre has been found. But I am not glad about why the hunt was necessary. I wish New Horizon had never been attacked. I wish my mother was still alive. I wish those 12,000 people could have lived full lives. The hunt was necessary, but it should never have been needed." The teacher gently guided the children away, thanking Marcus for his time. Jennifer watched them go, then turned to her grandfather. "They see you as a hero. The whole galaxy does. But I know this cost you everything. You never married, never had a normal life. You dedicated every moment to the hunt." "I had a choice," Marcus said quietly. "After my mother died, after New Horizon was destroyed, I could have tried to move on. Many survivors did. They rebuilt their lives, started families, found happiness. I chose differently. I chose to make sure the attack was never forgotten. I chose to make sure every perpetrator faced justice. It was my choice and I would make it again." That evening, Marcus traveled to New Horizon. The colony had been rebuilt, larger and more prosperous than before. The scars of the attack were gone, replaced by thriving settlements and productive farms. But at the site of the original massacre, a massive memorial stood. The names of all 12,000 victims were carved into black stone, each one carefully recorded and honored. Marcus walked slowly along the memorial wall, reading names. He knew them all by heart. After 50 years, they were like old friends. His mother's name was there, Governor Sarah Chen, leader and protector of her people.